That's a really good question. And so for me, being a woman in the tech industry, women, and specifically Black women, are severely underrepresented in the tech industry. And just based on my own lived experience with not having mentors, working in toxic work environments, and oftentimes working for unsupportive managers who did nothing to help me grow and develop my career, I've always had to advocate and fight for opportunities. I knew that I wanted to be the person that I needed earlier in my career. I was fortunate in 2018 to get accepted into.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to the Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm Kevin, and today we are joined by Angela V. Harris. She is the founder of 2638 Management Group. Definitely going to ask her about how she got that name, by the way. I'm very intrigued by that. But Angela, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Kevin. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Me too. And I definitely got to ask you, when I have new podcast guests on, I'm always really curious about their origin story, the lore. So let's start at the beginning. What was the moment that you realized that you wanted to become a coach and, more importantly, make a business out of it?
That is a great question. And honestly, I never really envisioned myself being a coach, yet alone an entrepreneur. So my corporate life and career was spent entirely in the tech industry ever since I was about 9 years old. It was always my goal and dream to, number one, attend college, and 2, pursue a career in technology. So that's what I did. And I'm also a first generation college graduate. So growing up as a child, when I selected my career path and my major, I didn't realize that I was going to be entering a white male dominated industry, because when I was a child, the STEM acronym had not been invented. People just called it computers. And so I wasn't growing up in a day and age where we had the Women in STEM initiatives or formal computer science education. I was fortunate that I had my own personal computer at home, but I was pretty much, self-taught, and my father did his best to expose me to the programs that were available at the time, but it wasn't structured or as robust as it was now. So I always envisioned that I would be that corporate employee, kind of, climbing the corporate ladder. That didn't necessarily work out for me. I got my degree, entered the workforce, and thought I was doing everything right, checking all the boxes. But as I was trying to grow and advance in my career, I just wasn't moving up. And I would see other colleagues, oftentimes, less qualified with less credentials, getting promoted. Yet I was told that I didn't necessarily meet the competencies to get promoted. So that was very frustrating and demotivating over time, especially when, again, I had the credentials. And I've always been a lifelong learner. I'm always looking to learn and grow and add new things to my tool belt. So I've always taken advantage of all the professional development opportunities that were available to me. And I knew at some point I was getting a little jaded with corporate America and the tech industry in general. So I knew I wanted at some point to eventually pivot out and do something for myself, but I didn't know what that was going to look like. And during the pandemic, I was in a professional development program, and we did an archetype assessment, and the profile that I was given from the assessment described me as a pusher. And they said a pusher was the type of person that's always supporting, encouraging, and motivating. And I was like, well, I already enjoy mentoring because I didn't have mentors very early in my career. I know at some point I want to start monetizing the work that I'm doing or have been doing for free. So that sounds kind of like coaching. So that got me curious about the career path or just the profession of coaching. So started researching coach training programs and decided to get certified as a coach. Who I wanted to help? That's a really good question. And so for me, being a woman in the tech industry, women, and specifically Black women, are severely underrepresented in the tech industry. And just based on my own lived experience with not having mentors, working in toxic work environments, and oftentimes working for unsupportive managers who did nothing to help me grow and develop my career, I've always had to advocate and fight for opportunities. I knew that I wanted to be the person that I needed earlier in my career. I was fortunate in 2018 to get accepted into a leadership development program that incorporated executive coaching as one of the components of the program. And that was a very transformational and pivotal moment for me just to have that, opportunity. That was probably close to almost 20 years in my career where I had my first real coaching experience. And I just wonder how different my career path and my journey would have been if I would have had that exposure early in my career. So initially, when I started coaching, my focus is on supporting Black women in tech industry, again, to kind of fill that gap of the underrepresentation that we have within the industry. Absolutely. Again, just realizing that I knew that I had the skills and talents. I knew that I had everything. I just needed that opportunity and someone to believe in me. And coaches, essentially, they're your personal cheerleaders in a sense. They hold up the mirror and help you see the things that are sometimes hidden in you. Well, I think one of the things that sets me apart as a coach is just simply the fact of my lived experience. I've worked in corporate America, so I've kind of, walked in their shoes. And so I know some of the obstacles they may be facing. Just based on my experience, I'm able to name some of the things that they may not be able to name. Specifically, I've supported people that have been working in toxic work environments and how it feels or what it looks like to experience workplace trauma, because sadly, I'm a victim of workplace trauma. So being able to name that and let them know that they are seen and they are supported when they're dealing with situations like that. Yeah, so I mentioned that I'm a first generation college graduate, and sadly, both my parents did not live to see me graduate from college. I lost my mother to stomach cancer when I was 3 years old, and my father died from prostate cancer when I was 21 at the start of my senior year in college. And just looking back at their lives and their journeys, they were both educated in segregated schools. They didn't have certain opportunities just based on their race. They attended the March on Washington. So honoring their legacy is something that's extremely important to me. So 2638 honors their birth years. My father was born in 1926 and my mother was born in 1938. So essentially they are my business partners and strategic thought partners in a sense through this business. How people find me, some people have found me through social media. I've been fortunate in that I got referred to a couple of organizations, nonprofit organizations that offer executive coaching through their leadership development program. So I've been fortunate to do some great work through some of those organizations. So a combination of referrals, social media, and also just me kind of, marketing myself as well. Word of mouth. Honestly, for me, I guess marketing has kind of just been social media marketing in terms of, posting on LinkedIn. So that can be hit or miss just because the algorithms are always changing. So I'm still trying to find the best strategy or practice for that. I have not done a lot with paid marketing yet. I did like one small campaign, but don't have enough, data to kind of see how effective that was. So I will explore, paid ads at a later date. That's also a great question. So I do a combination. So I do one-on-one coaching with typically, it varies if it's like from somebody that's working directly with me, it's typically a 6-month engagement. I also offer one-on-one coaching through some of the nonprofit clients that I have. So typically that can vary from 6 to 9 sessions. I am starting to do some group coaching work as well. I'm also a Reiki master. So recently I did a mini retreat so it's a combination of individual and group as well. I'm a BHAG type person, big, hairy, audacious goals, and I'm always pushing myself and challenging myself to try new and exciting things. So I would like to reach 10,000 individuals by the year 2030 with the business through a combination of my individual coaching, group coaching, my wellness experiences, and I also have a podcast as well. So the goal is to reach 10,000 professionals by 2030 and definitely expand my footprint in terms of gaining more corporate and government clients as well. In terms of impact, so I guess, just looking at the podcast, which I launched about a year and a half ago, the podcast has actually touched some global audiences. So from a podcast perspective, we reached about 1,500, downloads from a podcast perspective. And I guess from a coaching perspective, from an individual and group so far, just for myself, over 200, about 250 hours of coaching so far. So definitely want to expand that footprint and also expand my team. So looking to onboard additional coaches to help me do this work. Say the biggest challenge is that my business has been bootstrapped and I had to kind of make an abrupt pivot from corporate America into the business full time. So the business has been bootstrapped. So definitely, access to capital and access to funding because you definitely need money to grow and scale a business. So definitely been a challenge. So one of the ways that I'm trying to, I guess, like mitigate that right now is to apply for grant opportunities. And I actually did a pitch competition here in DC a couple of weeks ago, and I won my very first pitch competition. So a pitch competition essentially is you go up in front of an audience and in particular judges. And in this particular instance, I had 1 minute to essentially sell my business. It's basically like giving like your elevator spiel, your elevator pitch, but I had 1 minute to kind of like sell my business, and the judges awarded me first prize in this pitch competition. Well, so my coach training is focused on energy, core energy coaching. So I kind of use the story of working with someone whose energy was just off, the kind of person that walks into a room and instantly shifts the vibe. And it's highlighting how my company focuses on the one thing that most organizations overlook, and that's energy. And we do that through our energy-based leadership tools. We also have a unique experience called the Energy Renewal Room, and we help organizations and individuals shift how they show up in the workplace. Yeah. Yeah. And that's definitely a lesson learned for me as well. I've always felt that I was a very intuitive person. And I've learned throughout the years that your gut doesn't lie. So if your intuition is telling you to do something, don't ignore that feeling. For me, it was like kind of getting those whispers. I think it's time for you to leave corporate America. So I feel like, when we get those whispers or those gut feelings, don't ignore that. Okay. Oh, wow. That is a loaded question because honestly, I feel like there are no wasted experiences. Although looking back, I did make an investment with a business coach, and with the information that I have now, I probably would not choose that particular business coach again. However, I feel like that also did position me for different opportunities. I don't really know. I feel like it was kind of a bad investment, but at the same time, it did open up other doors for me. One thing that I've learned, I feel like there are no wasted experiences. At least that's the mindset or the mentality that I choose to view things from. So looking back, I did invest in a business coach. And if I had to do it over again, I probably would not, choose that coach again. However, I feel like I was able to leverage certain learnings from that coaching experience that did position me for other opportunities.
Okay. Yeah, kind of in a mixed bag. Huh, that's interesting. If you don't mind me asking, how much did you pay for it? What was the pricing for that initial
It was very
coach?
pricey. It was about a $15,000 investment. Yeah,
Dang, that's
exactly.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. How about your best investment?
I would say, honestly, my best investment was probably free in a sense. I feel like my best investment was honestly taking the leap to bet on myself and go into my business full time. Although entrepreneurship comes with its own unique set of, I will say that I'm more fulfilled now as an entrepreneur, even though I'm probably working 10 times harder as an entrepreneur. I'm more fulfilled now doing the work as a coach and running my own business than I ever was as a corporate employee.
I guess my last question for you, knock on wood, let's say you lose your business, right? I hope that doesn't happen. But you have to start over tomorrow, 0 followers, 0 clients. For some reason, you get hit with you get banned off of all the platforms and you have to restart again. You don't have any of your connections, but you have all the knowledge that you have now. What would you do in your first 90 days?
You said my first 90 days?
First 3
Ooh,
months.
wow, that is a great question. My first 90 days. Honestly,
If you
first thing
need
that
time
comes
to
to
think.
mind.
I
First thing
said
that
if you
comes
need time to think, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, first 90 days. Wow, that's a really hot seat question. I would say honestly, first things first is just reintroducing myself and telling folks what happened and taking them along on the journey of rebuilding. Just using it as a fresh opportunity to start over. Definitely leveraging, I guess, like the learnings from the previous, platform, but using it as a new opportunity to start something bigger and better. And just, taking them along on a journey and
Yeah.
inviting them in the process and just leveraging their live and real-time feedback.
There's something about that that's really interesting. One of my favorite pieces of content to binge on Instagram, because I don't ever go on LinkedIn if I want to scroll for fun stuff, right? I'm on Instagram and stuff. But are those oh yeah, day 31 of building a blah, 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 blah from my mom's basement or something like that content. I think that's what you're saying about bringing people along. I think that is so valuable and overlooked too.
Because sometimes we don't necessarily take the time to kind of I guess, enjoy the journey. And I feel like that just is being intentional about documenting the journey and celebrating the wins along the way. Because for me, I don't like to use the term like big win, small win. Win is a win.
Well, thanks for that advice, Angela. I guess my last question for you is like, how can people find you? How can people connect with you as well?
I am most active on LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn under Angela V. Harris. My business website is 26managementgroup.com. I'm also on Instagram at Coach Angela V. Harris.
Cool. Well, so great to have you on the podcast. One of the things that really sticks out to me is like your energy. You're very radiant. I get this really good, warm vibe from you just speaking to you as well. And thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing your experiences. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.